Okay, I'm starting. Hi, everybody. I'm Aviva Weiss, the founder and CEO of Fun and Function. I'm so excited to welcome you to our webinar on sensory spaces for self-regulation. Please take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat. You can share your name, what you do, and where you're from. Hi, everybody. Let's see. Krista, welcome. Amanda, OT. Michelle from Cincinnati. Whoa, this is going fast. Brenda, Katie, Mindy, Melissa. Welcome, everybody from so many parts of the country and the world. Just thrilled to have you. As you can see, teachers, therapists, and administrators are joining us today, in addition to mental health agencies, Head Start programs, hospitals, courthouses, yes, courthouses, people from courthouses, actually, people who work in museums and churches. We are experiencing the positive impact of sensory spaces, which are now popular across the country. Today, we'll show you how sensory spaces can support different goals and what each option looks like. During the presentation, we'll have a few quick polls so you can share your thoughts, which we love to hear. Then we'll take your questions. Before we end, we'll post a survey link in the chat. Everyone who responds will be entered to win a $100 gift card. I'm thrilled to introduce you to my colleague, Rachel, who will be giving the bulk of the presentation. Rachel, take it away.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here with you all. I'd like to start with what brings you to this workshop and hear a little bit more about your goals for your sensory space. Do your students have sensory diet needs, excess energy, aggression? Please take our instant poll now, which I will be launching, and I'll share the results of what your key goals are for your sensory space. So is it to support sensory diets, renew focus, release energy, reduce aggression, manage emotions, or other? And we'll give everyone a couple seconds to fill this out. I'm seeing all the answers coming in and the numbers are changing. All right, about 70% there. Okay, I'm gonna end the poll in just a second and let's share the results. Okay, so at first place, we have managing emotions at 74%. And then coming up next is reducing aggression, releasing energy, supporting sensory diet needs. Okay, all great valid goals. I see a few of you did check other. So if you would like to type in the chat what other means to you and we'll share it with everyone, that would be great. So if you want, you can take a minute to type into the chat and we'll share it with everyone. What are some other goals that you would have for the sensory space? All of the above. That's a good one. Okay, to help childcare providers create spaces in their classrooms and homes. Great. Developing gross motor skills. Also a good goal for the sensory space. To be used in a home environment. Okay. Mostly to manage emotions, but really all the above, how to manage those needs. A mobile sensory space. Okay, that's a good goal. A school environment regulation. Okay, all great valid goals. And as you can see, we're from really all over, but we're all in this together. We can all relate. So now that we've identified several goals to achieve, let's define how students will be using the sensory space during the school day. So for example, by 10 a.m., some students may completely lose their focus and need a brain break or need to get rid of the wiggles, like some of you said, while other students need sensory activities or a calm down space as part of an IEP. Another common use would be for the sensory room to be used to practice skills with an OT or PT. So next, what are some of the challenges that interfere with your students' progress? We've outlined a few here, such as hyperactivity, under-responsiveness, lack of impulse control, sensory overload. Take a look at these challenges that are listed here and type in the chat if you have anything else that you would want to add to the list. We'll give everyone a couple seconds, and If there's other challenges that you can think of that interfere with learning, with being in the classroom, anxiety, definitely a good one. Trauma, noise, trauma background, that's very common today. Medications is a big one. Aggression, refusing to participate, also a big one. Transitioning can be hard. Substance, yes. Lack of support, oppositional. Trauma, I see trauma came up a couple times. Sleep, we all need more sleep. Not enough sleep or not enough to eat. Okay, great. I like that last one, awareness of feelings. So fortunately, we can help you out with these challenges by creating different types of sensory spaces. In just a moment, we'll be giving you a virtual tour into each space so that you can explore classroom corners, sensory hallways, Zen dens, and of course, my personal favorite, sensory rooms. So now that you've seen the different options of what's out there, what's next? So you'd start with scouting out within your building which spaces are available. And you can really get creative over here. As you can see here, even a stairwell or a wall corridor can be turned into a sensory space. At the same time, you'd of course want to estimate your budget and funding sources, since this can impact your choices. And lastly, you should set up a time frame for completing the project. When do you want it set up by? Okay, so now let's go into the different sensory spaces. We'll start inside the classroom. Schools are often surprised that you can give students a sensory break without them having to leave the classroom. Here you can see how the back corners have been adapted into sensory spaces with both active and calming equipment. On the left, you can see a Sensisoft Playhouse, which provides individuals with a sort of quiet hideaway within the bigger classroom. And on the right, you can see a number of different interactive and visual pieces, such as the fiber optic jellyfish, the bubble tube, and some different interactive wall panels. So let's hear from you. How would you use a classroom corner? You can take a look at these 4 choices and let us know which ones your students would appreciate. So how would you use a classroom corner? As a sensory break, for a calming area, for small group activity, or other? Okay, I'm seeing the numbers come in. 58% of you participated, 65, 67. The numbers are coming in. We'll give everyone again a couple seconds. Okay, everyone ready? Great. Okay, so very interesting, this poll. I'm going to end it right now. I see that 79% of you shared that you would use the calming corner as a calming area. You would use that area for calming. And 63% of you said you would use it as a sensory break. And a small majority of you said other. And then 14% said that you would use it for small group activity. So I guess calming area is number 1. Great, amazing. At times, students may need to leave the classroom, of course, whether it's for a short structured break with an aide or when they're transitioning to the next location in their day. Either way, the sensory hallway is there and is designed to help with both scenarios. So you can see on the left, the wall panels and decals are there to engage students with visual and tactile stimulation. And on the right, the hopscotch gel tiles encourage jumping and vestibular input so that kids can get the sensory input that they need throughout their day. So it just makes transitioning and breaks a whole lot better. Next, let's go to the Zen den. Many people wonder what is a Zen den and what its purpose would be. So the seating and lighting is there in the Zen den to help students de-stress, relax, and participate in the wellness activities with their counselors or on their own. And they can use sensory tools from the break boxes, for example, to help with social emotional regulation, active movement, and calming as well. As you can see depicted, we have a range of comfortable and flexible seating options like the therapy rockers, along with some other items that are stimulating to the touch, like the sensory weighted pillows and fiber optics. Lastly, we'll take a look at the 3 types of sensory rooms. Let's start with the active one. All the equipment is there and is designed to provide proprioceptive and vestibular input. The swings, the slides, the rock walls, all there to enable students to release their excess energy, get the wiggles out, and self-regulate. In the calming sensory room, the goal would be for students to achieve a sense of calm. We specifically design to include gentle movement and a range of sensory activities that feature a wide range of different sensory elements like visual, audio, or tactile input. And just a personal favorite of mine would be the musical touch wall, which is a interactive wall panel that is activated by touch and gives both visual and audio feedback. So it's really cool. And of course, there's the vibroacoustic seating, which combines both music and vibration. And that's a seating option that people really all love. And finally, the best of both worlds, the hybrid sensory room. The hybrid sensory room provides students with a progression of activities, first active, and then leading to calming. So in the area for active movement, students can get the wiggles out, they can jump, they can climb, and then they can make their way towards the calming area, where they can choose to swing in a hammock or interact with a sensory panel. The goal is, of course, for students to ultimately return to class ready to learn. So now that we've explored the different options, I'd love to hear from you which type of space would help your students. You can answer on this poll, and I will share the results. So imagine you were getting your dream space tomorrow. Let's hear which one you would choose. And there's no wrong answer. Okay, so would you choose a classroom corner, a sensory hallway, a Zenen, an active sensory room, a calming sensory room, or a hybrid sensory room? And there is no option for all of the above. But if you could choose, which one would you choose? Okay, gonna give everyone another couple of seconds to get their answers in. All right. Okay, this is pretty cool also. I'm going to share the results, and it seems like hybrid sensory rooms are the most popular, with calming sensory rooms coming in at second and classroom corners at a close second, but third. And then we have sensory hallways, Zendens, and active sensory rooms pretty much at the same point. So really, they're all great options, and we love them all. So to summarize, I'd love to tell you how our team can tailor make a sensory space for your school. We always start by learning your specific needs and goals, and then develop different options that fit your space, your budget, and time frame, and develop 3D visuals that can support the process and help you envision all the possibilities. Once we get your feedback, which is of course most important, we can finalize the design for your review, give you a full proposal, which includes the design, the itemized quote, and shipping times. And we're often asked if we provide training for your faculty and staff. And the answer is yes, we do. We do that and more, like data and tracking tools. We really are completely here for you whenever you have any questions or needs. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us today. I see we do already have several great questions in the Q&A. If you do have any questions, please add them into the Q&A at the bottom of the screen, and we will get to as many as we can today. If you want to include your email address so that we can follow up with you if we didn't get to your question, that would be great. And I do see that some people are asking if they can get a recording of the webinar. And yes, we will be sending the recording link to all of you within a day or so. So you can look out for that in your email. All right. So I see also a number of you are asking how long it takes to design a sensory room. Good question. Generally speaking, we can prepare an initial design within a week or two, and then we would meet and talk about the design and get your feedback and make any adjustments that's necessary. Another question's here about funding. We are definitely happy to share the grant information that we're aware of, and you can reach out to your account manager who can help guide you further. Who does the room installation? So also good question. It would be your facility manager or a local contractor. And we provide clear, detailed instructions for each piece of equipment. So for each and every single piece of equipment, for every sensor room, you really will be good to go. Okay. So the next question that we will look at is from a social worker at a New Jersey school. She writes, I'm the clinical supervisor of a school for students with IEPs and behavioral challenges. We created Zendens for our students to reset. How can we make these sensory rooms more effective? Great. Okay, well, to start, it really is great that you're working to improve your results. And to answer your question on how to make your current Zenden more effective, we would start with your goals and your assessment of how students are currently resetting in the Zendens. Are they using the room independently? Is it with a counselor? How much time are they spending in the room? And then based off that background, we can suggest different activities to improve the results. So for example, we would definitely recommend a balance of activities that are both active and calming. So whether it's a trampoline for jumping, a music panel for auditory interaction, a hammock for quiet rocking while they're talking with a counselor, or vibroacoustic seating for meditation. And actually next week, we will be hosting another webinar, February 14th, on how to improve outcomes. It will be led by Rifki Berger, our OT and sensory coach, and you are all invited to join. Okay, this next question is from a special ed professional in Illinois. Anyone from Illinois? Okay, our school likes the idea of, oh, someone raised their hand. A few people are raising their hands. Our school likes the idea of classroom corners where the students don't need to leave the room. But how can we keep the corner from being a distraction for the rest of the class? Okay, so I actually hear this question pretty much every day. So I am very glad you asked. Everyone can hear the answer now. There are several ways to prevent distraction. The first thing that I would definitely recommend would be to have some sort of physical divider or barrier, sound barrier, just to create a very clear distinction between what is the classroom area and what is the calming area, whether it's, again, a sound divider or a playhouse. You can also create a visual separation, such as, with gel tiles or a floor mat. And of course, we would also advise putting in sensory equipment that isn't loud or disruptive. And it is, in general, a good idea to explain to the class what the purpose of the classroom corner is. And once they understand the purpose, it really will become part of us routine. Okay, so moving along, can we create a portable sensory space for shared facilities or to set up at events? So asking about portable sensory solutions, definitely. This question does come up a lot, especially when there's limited space. And portable sensory solutions are really great. They're versatile. And in the past, we have designed these for school districts, libraries, museums, even ones for a traveling circus, believe it or not. Kids and really anybody can get sensory overload in all kinds of situations. I'm sure you can all, if I would ask you to type in the chat, you can all think of many different places where there can be sensory overload. And we have equipment that is pack and go and portable, like the break boxes, for example, or a sensory cart. So if you are interested more, you can contact us after the webinar, and I'd be happy to walk you through some of the options. Okay, moving along. Everyone good so far? Okay, let's go on answering your questions. Here we have a question that was given by Julie, a physical therapist in Oklahoma. She asks, how are schools successfully utilizing the sensory room space? Are any and all students allowed to use it, or is it more geared to special education students? Okay, so this is actually an interesting question since it does vary by school and population. We've seen a trend towards broader access for all students, since the sensory space really can support with learning focus, emotional regulation, and mental health. We can design for all populations, and especially for those with learning and developmental challenges. Great. Okay, so this question is from an elementary school in Tennessee. I'm a new principal. How can I effectively implement a calm down room? Okay, super question. First of all, if you're here, hats off to you for being so proactive and committed. And based on our experience, we can share resources to help you explain the goals of the sensory room to your team create schedules and rules for using the calm down room, and how to measure the results, which we will be getting into more detail on how to measure results at the webinar next week, February 14th. To start though, I would really hone in on what needs you're looking to address, and then building out a calm down space from there in terms of seating, lighting, and other sensory equipment. Again, great question. All right. So there are a number of questions about whether we do sensory spaces for different facilities like hospitals, museums, or a nature center. Absolutely. Each setting is, of course, unique. For example, some of the hospitals we work with would prioritize products that can be sanitized easily, whereas for a museum or a nature center, it might be important for them to have sensory tools that individuals can carry with them as they go. Hold on to them, stick them in their backpack, and I'm happy to meet with you and share specific examples if that would be helpful. We want both an alerting space. Sorry, this is the next question. We want both an alerting space as well as a calm down space. Do we need to choose one over the other when creating sensory rooms? So you want both. The answer would definitely depend on your needs, your space, and your budget. If you can have separate spaces, an active room and a calming room, then go for it. But if not, then the hybrid room is the way to go. And it seems like majority of you anyways would love a hybrid room, so that would be the way to go. Essentially, you can have the best of both worlds there. You can have alerting and calming in one space. And when we organize it, we design to include visual cues and sort of like a natural pathway so that students can progress through the room, tapping into each element and getting what they need. And also what's cool about the hybrid room is that, if a child comes in at, feeling a certain need, then they could start at different points in the room depending on the need that is presented. And then of course, after the students progress through the sensory activities, they can get themselves regulated and return to class ready to learn. All right. So I do see a safety related question from a hospital in Oregon and also from several schools. How do you handle children and teens who have the potential to be rough on the equipment or space? So for starters, I would start by slowly introducing students to the sensory tools and demonstrating how to properly use it. Don't use the space as a reward or punishment, and instead use the space at predictable times or as part of a student's sensory diet. And we can also help you by choosing common colors and lighting and equipment, posting the rules for use, and by providing training for the adults who will supervise the activities. Okay. And this next question is from a principal at a Baltimore school district. Let's go Baltimore. Please provide suggestions for how to create a space for students in crisis. Okay, so creating a space for students in crisis, that is a really great question. Schools as well as different mental health agencies will bring up this question many times. And as many of you had noted in the chat, there are, many individuals are struggling with very high levels of stress, anxiety, trauma, social alienation. And we are here to help you organize the space so that they have a quiet area to meet with a counselor or on their own, in addition to, of course, having those self-calming activities so that they can get that sense of calm and inner stability. And we would want to design it in a way, of course, that is pleasant and calming for them. And I'd be more than happy to get into details with you if you'd want to explore more. Again, that was a good question. How do we help teachers embrace the idea of sensory corners? Some are concerned about giving up classroom space. Okay, good question. Very valid on the teacher's end. And we really do understand and appreciate the concern, especially when space is limited, and somehow it always is. In our minds, it is all about positive education. So presenting the classroom corner as a learning station that will help improve behavior and participation is a great way to go about it. Students go there, get the sensory input that they need, self-regulate, and then they're able to return to their desks. And of course, there is research to support the positive impact, and happy to share it with you. Okay, cool. So this next question is from an OT in Texas, but several of you have asked something similar, so I'll bring it up. How can we have the biggest impact with very little space? So we all want that, of course, trying to get the biggest impact for what we have. The sensory space can be brought out in many different creative ways, and it's a lot of fun to get creative over here. It can be in a classroom, a hallway, a library, or even under a stairwell, as I showed you earlier. And we would first set up a meeting to discuss your vision and your goals and what you're looking to create. And then once we have the dimensions, we can show you the different options. Great. Okay, so we'll take 1 or 2 more questions now, and any questions that we didn't get to, we will be in touch with you after the webinar. All right, so we are trying to create an inclusive and accessible hallway for elementary school students with varying disabilities, including autism, Down syndrome, and cerebral palsy. Can you help us? Okay, so this is such an important question. We can definitely help you with selecting equipment to support the different abilities, and I'm sure everyone has different abilities that you're seeing. So for example, we did just design a hallway for wheelchair-bound students, and we specifically picked different decals that are inclusive and wall panels that are interactive and accessible. There really is something for everyone. It's just a matter of figuring out what the needs are and then picking out the right pieces. Okay, and the last question for today, let's see, is what ages do we design the spaces for? So also, I'm so glad that this question was asked, because one of the best parts of my job is that we design spaces for a wide range of ages, abilities, and environments. For example, we design sensory rooms for airports where there's all different age travelers, for courthouses to ease the stress, for sports stadiums where there can be a lot of sensory overload, and of course for schools and other community centers. So today you met me, Rachel. Nice to meet you all. And I really am part of a larger team of wonderful sensory room designers and OTs at Fun and Function. And we all work together to bring your vision to life. So thank you to each and every single one of you for your excellent questions and for joining us today and for your participation. Again, if we didn't get to answer your question, we will follow up after the webinar. And next, I will ask Aviva to tell you about our new $500 award program and also about our gift card before we close today's webinar.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel, for your incredible presentation. I forgot to mention at the beginning that in addition to being a sensory room designer, Rachel is also an incredibly talented artist. So we are so grateful and really impressed with all of your contributions. And thank you for answering all the excellent questions. We want to thank you all for joining us today, for taking your time out of your busy day. I know that that is not easy. To help you get started on your sensory space, we have a new award program with a $500 benefit for the recipients. The details will be sent to you through email. If you have any other questions or challenges, we'd love to help. Oh, I'm sorry, my video is not on. Oh no, technical issue. Just a moment. Second here. Alana, maybe you can help me, and if not, I will just end off without my video on.
You got it. It's on.
It's on? Amazing. If you have any other questions or challenges, we'd love to help. Please contact your account manager at Fun and Function or email webinar@funandfunction.com. Before we end the conference, please tell us how we did today. Click on the link in the chat and answer one question. We really, really value your feedback. And if you do, you'll be entered to win $100, and the form should be coming now. And thank you for sharing your feedback. We're always here for you and your community and are so grateful for your participation and feedback. Thank you all.